Every time I turn up to a disaster site, one of the people I bump into is Val, but I'll let her tell her own story.
Good morning, Your Majesty. What a pleasure and an honour to meet you.
That's very nice to see you. Well, that sounds rather an impressive thing to come from the Governor-General. What are you doing?
Well, I'm a very, very long-time volunteer with St John Ambulance, Australia.
Yes.
I'm also a commander in the Order of St John.
Are you?
I am, and that was conferred on me recently for work that has involved probably over 50 years of being with St John Ambulance. I personally would love to see, and my aim is, that people who are driving vehicles should learn first aid. It's an absolute passion of mine. We had a dreadful moment in our family life many years ago that has led me to believe that first aid, bystander first aid at the scene of an accident actually makes a massive, big difference. Those 5 to 7 minutes before the ambulance or help arrives, the person pulling up at a car accident, if they have first aid training, they can actually save a life. We have something like 40,000 people a year recovering and living with injuries from road trauma. And I would dearly like to be able to promote the idea of learner drivers taking on first aid training as part of their driver's licence. Because whenever I drive around where I live here in Canberra, all I can see is other drivers, and they're all potential first aiders. I don't see mothers and fathers, I see first aiders. And so it would be really a wonderful thing if we could inspire all peoples to be able to learn first aid, because it will make a marvellous difference right the way across our community. And so for that reason, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to raise that issue.
It sounds a very sensible idea too, because obviously it does help enormously if one does know something about first aid.
Indeed it does. You're quite right. And I guess the other thing that I wanted to talk about this today is that recently I had the pleasure of being in our wonderful top north region of New South Wales, where sadly the community up there was devastated. In the Lismore Twin Rivers region, the Richmond River flooded and other rivers, and the water rose some 35 feet and wiped out this whole community. I went in as a first aid person to set up a medical unit there. The amazing resilience of that community up there, it really has reinforced the goodness in people and in the human nature. It was such a privilege to be a part of that.
Well, it's nice to hear that there are people that are so brave and welcoming too.
They've been very stoic up there, Your Majesty. It's been an extremely difficult time, and as I wrote to you, actually for those communities worse than the bushfires. It's absolutely terrible.
You've had a terrible lot of rain, haven't you?
Yes, and it's continuing, unfortunately.